I'm Dr. Chet Zelasko, and this message is about artificial sweeteners. I get asked more about artificial sweeteners than any other food additive. That includes aspartame, sucralose, and acesulfame potassium, or ACE-K for short. The internet is full of opinions about the dangers of artificial sweeteners. I've read much of what's written, including that 1995 email that really started this whole controversy. After reading what people have written or listening to what they say in videos, you would expect to see people dropping on the street from using artificial sweeteners. So what's real and what's not? Let's take a look at what's being said. Aspartame and brain tumors. In a study published in the late 90s, a researcher published an observation about the relationship between the introduction of aspartame and the increase in brain tumors. He suggested that as the use of aspartame increased, so did the number of brain tumors. The problem was that the timeline was incorrect. In other words, it takes time for tumors to develop, and there was no latency period in the observations. They occurred simultaneously. Further studies demonstrated no relationship between tumors and aspartame use, but those studies are never talked about. Aspartame is broken down into aspartic acid and methanol in the body. Well, that's absolutely true. But you'd get more methanol from drinking a glass of tomato juice and more aspartic acid from an average serving of meat. Look, there's a simple answer that would be easy for critics to perform. Measure the methanol amounts in the bloodstream of people who use aspartame and those who don't. If it reaches a dangerous level, they've proved their point. The same is true for sucralose being broken down into chlorine. If it's true, there has to be chlorine in the blood and tissues of people who consume sucralose. I guess it's easier to make a statement without backing it up than it is to perform a very simple study. All artificial sweeteners cause migraines. There have been anecdotal reports, that means observations, that some people who have used artificial sweeteners stopped getting migraines when they stopped using the sweetener. I have no doubt that's true, but I don't think it has anything to do with the sweetener. To me, it has everything to do with an inability of those people to metabolize the nutrient. Chocolate and caffeine have also been associated with migraines. What's necessary is for people to get to know their own bodies, and if they get a negative effect from any food, nature-made or man-made, don't use it. How simple is that? Sucralose causes shrunken glands, cecal enlargement, that's part of the digestive system, and weight loss in laboratory animals. While that's true, the study used amounts of sucralose that would make food so sweet that the animals refused to eat it. The stress of that type of diet would cause cecal enlargement and compromise the immune system, resulting in weight loss. There is nothing that wouldn't be expected given the experimental design. In other words, this study is relatively meaningless. All of the negative things written about artificial sweeteners emanates from about 5 individuals, and I can tell you that this is a dedicated group of people. They will not listen to any opinion other than that which agrees with them. I know because I've tried. When I've suggested that people get negative reactions to things like tomatoes, chocolate, or other foods, they avoid talking about it. When I've pointed out their incorrect interpretation of studies, they say I'm part of the conspiracy to promote corporate profit at the expense of people's health. When I've done what they have done, pick a position and use only the research that supports my position for something natural, for example, the herb stevia causing infertility, they question my sanity. I no longer try to communicate with them because it's pointless. Science means nothing to them. Listen, whether you use products with artificial sweeteners or not is a personal decision. Just make that decision based on 2 things: the actual science and not opinions of people that use perverted interpretations of that science, and even more importantly, your personal experience. If you use it and get a negative effect, well, don't use it anymore. If you don't get a negative effect, and more than likely you won't, use them responsibly as part of your overall approach to weight management and eating healthier. That's what I do. I hope this clarifies things for you. This is Dr. Chet Zelasko.